We are back online, comma. I've started the webinar and we are live on YouTube.
We can cut that video though, right? Parts of it, whatever we don't use.
Yeah, I assume so.
Because it's,
I mean, I don't
it's
know
running right now.
Yeah, it's running right now. Hello to anybody that's watching us. We are just getting ready to participate in the online job fair. And we definitely need to announce some, well, actually, yeah, what we want to, because there's a delay. So we want to watch ourselves on Zoom because that's what is being recorded. Boy, the lighting is terrible.
Turn off those lights. Turn off those.
Yes, ma'am.
How's that look?
Better. It's definitely better than it was. It's still not great, but it's better than it was with the lights.
So we need to switch this way.
Okay, he wanted a curtain behind us, so we should ask him what he wants. Do I need to invite you as a panelist? Maybe. That seems to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, comma. So you're going to send questions to us via Facebook, and then we will answer live via YouTube. Please check how we look, period. We set up a gold curtain behind us, but the lighting is not very good. I guess it's okay. We could switch to our couch where we'll have more direct, better lighting.
I think this is fine.
Okay. Unless you and I come into connection, because I feel like we're a little disconnected. Hey.
Hey.
Hi. Hey. Well, that feels better. Sorry, because we're kind of rushing around and such. Thank you. I love you so much.
Love you.
It feels really good. Thanks. I realized I had some stuff that came up this morning. Just disappointment that you're not coming to the concert with me, and that your mom is, and then Paul, and just all kind of. I mean, you're loving me up really well, and you're treating me really well, and but there still is agitation.
Of course, I can understand that.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, when we have some time, I'd love to hear more about it.
I probably don't need to process that much, especially since we're on camera right now.
No. But I mean, anything you want me to hear later.
Yeah.
Or just let me know what you need.
Yeah. Oh, good. He says it looks fine. You look beautiful.
Okay.
Great. How is your job fair going so far? Question mark. And let us know when you have switched over to the live feed and that people are actually watching us. How many participants do you have? Question mark. Okay, so
he's going to ask us questions, and
yeah, yeah, and so this is where we're going to be. All right, so you know what I want to do? One other thing. I just grab my water. Ugh.
If you start off talking about love plus work, then let's see what questions come up. So we just start, is that what he wants us to start on?
Yeah. You know how important it is to do everything with love. Will you introduce us? Question mark. In other words, do we need to explain who we are, comma, or will you have already done that? Question mark. Oh, wow. We're allowed to speak. Okay.
Why did I feel like something's going on Thursday? Oh shit, I have a session.
Okay. So we're going to have to introduce ourselves too.
Okay. You want to start it off?
Sure. Well, briefly.
Okay.
Sure. Again.
This is more comfortable when I'm on my.
Going live. Okay. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Scott Katamas, and this is my partner Emily, and we are the co-founders of the Love Coach Academy. We're based in California, but we work with people all over the world. Emily and I have traveled throughout the world, teaching the tools of compassionate communication and emotional intelligence skill building. And today we're going to talk all about how it's important to do everything with love.
So the importance of doing everything with love. It sounds like something that we should do and understand, but it's amazing how much we do things in life from a place of should or have to or obligation. We bring this energy with us of scarcity, deficiency, dislike, and it colors the rest of our life. So how can we be aware of those ways of being? And what do we need to be able to shift into doing things consciously with more love?
And love is not just an ooey gooey hippie feeling. Love is doing things with passion
And care.
and care. Absolutely.
And presence.
And presence.
Even the most simplest things, you can actually find a space of joy with. And I think a lot of it is slowing down and seeing the value of really connecting to the presence of what is in the moment. So, like, for example, if I'm even washing dishes, you could judge that as like beneath you or, something that most people don't like to do. But how can I actually see the value of water? How can I see the value of cleansing, cleaning things, really being with the experience? A lot of it is like shifting our mindset.
Mm-hmm. She mentioned the word care, and I'll give another example. I'm sure all of you have had the experience of being at a restaurant where your server really showed care, really asked you, how are you doing? How can I support you? Are you enjoying your meal? And you could tell they were really sincerely asking. Versus the times you've been to a restaurant, it's kind of like somebody just kind of, what do you want? Drops down the plate, doesn't care, right? Mm-hmm. All of us as human beings, we want to be cared for. It's a primal experience. And when people show care for us and when we show care for others, that is love.
Mm-hmm. One of the greatest joys is actually contributing to the well-being of people and also to life. And when we open into giving, whether, like you said, whether you're serving food, whether you're checking in, whether you're in customer service, whatever you're doing, if you're gifting it from a place of care and love and generosity, it's incredible the kind of energy that comes back. And so there's this kind of cyclical cycle of giving from a place of love and how magnetic the receiving becomes back.
Yeah, and it creates a flow.
Yeah.
And now sometimes it's hard because if we're really giving, we're being in service, and we don't feel like we're getting back what we need and what we want. That's really hard. And so that's where we have to like kind of amp up our energy. And also maybe take a look at, okay, what are the agreements I've made? What is the exchange? I'm doing this job in exchange for however much money, and really making sure that the exchange is something you genuinely feel good about.
I really like that. And also, I also really want to bring to the forefront, when do we need to reevaluate when we've accepted a certain job? It might be outdated, or it's not something that is optimal, or, we're not fully in integrity with that which we want. We could call it divine purpose or divine offering that's in alignment with our soul. And so it's kind of a tricky one. It's like, where do we need to reassess where we're putting our time and energy? And to what degree can we, as we shift into something that might be serving us more, how can we still bring love and care to the things that we do, whatever it is?
She brought up something. Right livelihood is a blessing. When we are in a time of our life where we really have found our purpose
Mm-hmm.
and what we feel like, okay, this is what I'm here to do, at least at this stage of my life, at least this time of my life. Emily and I are both very, very blessed because we have found our right livelihood. We spend our day coaching people, teaching the tools of emotional intelligence, skill building, and we love it. We absolutely love it. Every day we give thanks to how fortunate we are. But it wasn't always this way. It's, you know, you
We've done
struggled.
lots of jobs that we didn't, I've done lots of jobs that I didn't like and that were an optimum desire for my purpose. However, I still, if I look back on it, I gained so much skill set and value from the things that I did that actually have made me a better human being and a better person. So even if you're not in your optimal dharma or job that you want to be, how can you stay grateful for the blessings that that job offers you or provides you? And I think, again, that's like shifting our mindset and from this isn't what I want, this isn't good enough, this isn't right, all those judgments to, okay, this is serving me right now. It might not be optimal of where I want to be, but I'm learning these virtues, or I'm developing these qualities and focusing there, because that's ultimately going to help you to live a more fulfilled and joy-filled life.
You know, we work a lot with couples and singles. And often when I'm working with a woman who's looking for Mr. Right, but she's dating a good guy, I'll say, well, maybe he's Mr. Right now.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
and it's important to do that. It's like, what has God or life put in front of us?
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be what we want for the rest of our life or for forever, but it may be exactly what we need right now. And to be doing that, again, with love,
Mm-hmm.
with care,
with gratitude.
With gratitude. Oh, you want to talk about gratitude?
Yeah. Well, I think we were just touching on it. It's really about a mindset. Where is your mindset when you're doing anything? Is it from a place of lack, not good enough, deficiency, not right, all of those constructs? And what that does is holds us in the imprisonment of scarcity or shame. And when we're in those mindsets, we're not effective. We're actually living in our reptile brain. And when we're living in our reptile brain, the back part of the brain, we're not in a space of connection. We're in a space of survival. So how can we consciously become aware of what mindsets we're in or what mind fields we're in, and be able to shift into a place of gratitude and abundance? It's a really, really big practice to consciously affirm. It's like one thing to learn about this tool, but it's a whole nother thing to actually slow down and check in with yourself. What's going on with my mind? What's going on with my state of being? How can I consciously shift into more gratitude, into more appreciation?
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're beginning to get questions, and want to let you know that please ask questions, because we love to respond, especially because we can't see you. We can imagine you, but we can't see you. So the questions are really helpful. Give us a chance to really interact. And we do have our first question, which is, how can I help my workmates to be more cooperative? When you see me looking over here, it's at the other screen where we're getting the questions coming in from Jonas. Hello, Jonas. So how can I help my workmates to be more cooperative?
I know that one. But
Okay.
So the one thing when we've worked for companies that we've really seen turn companies around is how to bring more acknowledgement and appreciation to your workmates. What are the things that they're doing that are really meeting your values? Where can you point out the way they've contributed to adding value to the company, to you? And how can you build on that? Because a lot of times what happens is when things aren't going well, we tend to, again, focus on the deficiency. And then we tend to criticize by focusing on what they're not doing well or right. And a lot of people think, oh, well, that's just feedback or that's constructive feedback. Well, feedback so often is given in the form of criticism. And criticism shuts down the brain literally and puts us into reptile brain. and when we're in reptile brain, our literally our brain shuts down and we go into, I need to protect myself, which then anything you want to help or support or have them get into their brain, they're going to be shut down. They're not going to be able to receive it. So find out or look for ways that they have done things well, or done, or even found any appreciation for them. And how can you build on that? So I guess that's
and just here's the biology lesson. Just like, when we get criticized and we get defensive and we go into reptile brain, conversely, when we receive appreciation, our little receptor cells get really happy. We open up and we can actually receive more input when we're receiving appreciation. So you can help to get back to the question, you can help your workmates to be more cooperative by appreciating them for what they have done that is supportive. And that helps them to feel good about themselves and to trust that you're not just, making them wrong, but then you can ask for more help. Hey, I really loved when you helped me in such a way. It feels so good. Thank you. Using language that is appropriate to the culture, of course.
It's all about your intention too. Like, are you coming to that person with a field of like being frustrated, angry, irritated? That is not going to serve connection. Because usually when people come into those fields of energy, they immediately want to either like protect themselves or shut down. So we have to do the work to get clear in ourselves to, again, give ourselves enough what we call self-empathy or self-reassurance to get ourselves centered, and then come from a place of actual care and really wanting to uplift this other person and come from a place of wanting to connect and uplift the people that you're working with.
Right. And we have more questions, which is great. One last thing is that ask them, just like you want them to be more supportive of you, how can I be more supportive of you? In other words, ask them,
what do they need?
What do they need? How can I support you more fully?
Right. Because if we help other people get their needs met, they're actually going to be more excited, more fulfilled, thus then being able to meet more of our needs. So it's a tough one, because usually when our needs are not being met, it becomes so much about us and what's not going right. But what happens is if we can give ourselves enough care and empathy and step into uplifting them to get more of their needs, our needs are actually going to be more met. So it's a little bit of a shift in understanding there.
We've got 3 more questions.
Oh, great.
Do you think there is a way to help employers to be more supportive of workforce well-being? Yes. Have your employers hire us. Because what we do is really we train companies, and we do a lot of work with companies where we help employers to understand that the more your workers perceive that you genuinely care about them, the more they're going to care about you. Again, it's that exchange. They're going to be more fulfilled. So it is really important. Now, here's a couple of basics. A big part of the foundation of our teaching is that everything that human beings do is an attempt to meet what we call universal human needs and values. Everything we do is an attempt to meet universal human needs and values. And that's the way we can understand each other more fully. So, as an employee, understand that your boss or manager probably has a high value for reliability, responsibility, efficiency, productivity, and respect. Those are the big things that almost all employers and management looks for in you, employees, staff. But conversely, when we are in the role of employee or a staff member, we have universal needs, and that includes clarity. What's my job and how do you want it to be done? appreciation for when I do the job well, acknowledgement for my commitment and my service, and also respect. We all want to be treated with respect, whether we're the boss or the employee. So that's really important to remember. Next question is, how can I be me on my new workplace? So how can I kind of be true to myself in my new workplace? That's a good question. It's kind of hard to answer without knowing exactly what the job is and what does being you mean, right? Because if being you means, hey, I'll get there when I feel like it, that may not work for your boss, right? But I think one thing that comes to my mind is, how can we be curious to find new parts of me? I know that when back earlier, when I took jobs working for other people, because most of my life I've worked for myself. It's like, okay, I had to be curious. I had to find new parts of myself that were willing to do what somebody else wanted and adapt and evolve to what my boss or my manager wanted. So I'll say I had to discover new parts of me, which is great because that's what keeps us young. When we do new things, when we try new things, when we're curious, that actually brings it, children are very curious. So be curious. What are the new parts of you that come up? Anything comes to your mind for you on that one?
I wouldn't have really thought of that, but what I think of is, how can I be flexible? Like especially when I'm working for somebody else, finding out what are the skill sets that they need, and how can I look at those as parts of myself that I can amplify and up level. So without sacrificing my integrity. So that's really clear. Like, get clear about what your values are and what your integrity is. Like, don't change yourself to try to be something for somebody else, but find the skills that employer wants and use this as an opportunity to really amplify and up level those skill sets in yourself, or those qualities of being.
She's so good. We're really enjoying that you're asking us questions, and maybe give us your name and a little bit of detail about yourself along with the question. Okay, then we can go even deeper. Here's a really good one. I feel like I've lost much confidence when I'm looking for work. Is there a way I can boost my confidence? That's a really good question, and it's a vulnerable one. And I'd like to start if I can.
Yeah, please.
So it's all how we interpret life. Okay, so what's your interpretation? When someone has said no many, many, many times, we can interpret it to mean there's something wrong with me.
Or I'm rejectable.
I'm rejectable. I'm not good enough. Right, exactly. And we start taking it personally. And then the more we take it personally, the confidence goes down.
Goes way down.
Right? Yeah. However, when somebody says no, we can interpret it as, wow, they weren't smart enough to get how great I am. Their loss. Really, it's like an attitude adjustment.
Right.
Is it my loss or is it their loss?
Or not even me and them, but wow, this job has come to a completion. For some reason, it's time for me to, it's come into my life that there's an ending here and there's a new beginning that's going to be even better. So do you see how, like, I use it as like, okay, universe has brought something to create an adjustment of an end. That's sad. I can feel my feelings about it. I feel sad about that. I feel scared because I don't know what I'm going to do. So don't stuff your feelings, but watch, like you said, Scott said, watch the interpretation. What are you making meaning of the event? And how can you be aware to shift it into one of a life-affirming one?
And in terms of building confidence, make a list of the things you've done in your life that you're proud of. And really focus on that. Because again, energy flows where our attention goes. Right? If I'm putting my attention on the people that have said no to my attempt to get a job, I'm going to start getting depressed and discouraged. If I put my attention on my skills, my talents, my value, many years ago, I had a good friend a long time ago who was a stand-up comic. And so I used to go to see her shows to be supportive of her. And there are all these different comics and they were all trying to make it. And the ones that came in and they lacked confidence, oh my God, you could tell. And it was uncomfortable to even watch. But there was this one guy named Dana Carvey who was so confident and he was having so much fun. And his jokes weren't any better than other people's jokes. But he felt so comfortable on stage that we just enjoyed his show. He went on to become a big television star. He became one of the leads on Saturday Night Live and ended up becoming a movie star. Confidence. We build our confidence by looking at who we are, remembering our unique talents, and really, even if you need to run it through your mind 100 times, I am really good at fill in the blank. Oh, wow. Only 2 more questions, then we're wrapping up. Erica asks, how can we create a culture of trust? Wow, that's a good one.
It's very broad.
Yeah.
And it's a very broad question.
Yeah.
Well, trust for me is creating safety for feelings and needs to be able to be expressed. Like, how can we learn skill sets to be able to express ourselves and create a space of shared vulnerability and learning specific conflict resolution skills? Because what happens a lot is that there's a buildup of withholds or conflict in a company or in a work environment, and literally the walls start going up. It's like that cubicle that was next to you with that person that said those 5 things or didn't get that work done, and you're like doing the work for them. There's a big wall there. So ideally, teaching the company within the company effective conflict resolution skills that people are going to agree to practice. That's kind of where our tools come in. And then having a shared work meeting once a week where it's like checking in. How are things going? How are people feeling? Where are we within some of our values? So that's an important thing too, is as the manager of the company or the employer or employers of the company, have they create a system of kind of like a safety net of agreements or codes of conduct that the company is going to live by. So for example, we're going to live, our shared value of our company is to really be able to create trust through effective conflict resolution skills.
Beautiful.
Right. And so we're going to practice that, and we're going to come back weekly to check in. How is it going? Are there certain things that need to effectively be talked about where people are not, sharing, or there might be some withholds? So that's where it's like creating that system that creates that safety, holds the company. And so things are able to flow more in harmony within the ecosystem of the creation of those agreements and values. So that's where we would really come in and learn how to implement that, create those skill sets. And companies do that. Companies hire us from all over the world to create these systems to support their vision, their mission, and hold their company in a way that's uplifting all and creating that, like you said, that shared space of trust.
She said it brilliantly. Just one little add-on. You heard her use the term clear withholds. What that means is that when we feel slighted, and again, this is all about building a culture of trust, when we perceive that somebody else hasn't treated us fairly or with respect, we remember that. The brain stores memory of pain at 5 to 30 times greater than memory of pleasure. Clearing withholds is finding a way to clear it so that we aren't, because if we perceive somebody has attacked us or hasn't treated us with respect, disregarded or whatever,
or they're not doing their work, and so then you started kind of picking up the workload, like that's a common one.
Any of those things, we start turning that person into what we call an enemy image. We no longer see that person as Joe or Robert, but we see that person as an enemy, and we don't want that to happen. So in creating a culture of trust, we have to clear the air periodically. It's kind of like, when you cut yourself and you get dirt in it, you got to wash it out. If you don't clean it out, it can get infected.
Yeah.
Likewise, if we don't clean out the stuff between us, our relationships get infected.
Right. And that's so common. That's why people come to see us, is to be able to effectively learn how to be able to have conflict resolution skills and create, when there's been upsets, disagreements, fights, those kinds of things, is how can we effectively repair and come back into connection and harmony. And that's super important skill sets that nobody taught us in school. So
here's the final question. The online job fair is about my true self, to be hired for who you feel you truly are, rather than for superficial reasons. How can Love Coach Academy enable a workplace to become more inclusive? Wow. Well, I remember I went through a period of my life where I was running a professional theater company in Los Angeles, and we hired about 10 to 15 new people every year. And we would have hundreds and hundreds of people audition for us and narrow it down and narrow it down. And when it came down to our final choices, I really wanted to make sure that I did understand who this person truly was, so that who they truly were was really going to fit in with the vision of our company and the vision of the work that we were doing. And so I think it's important for you to really, find the balance. And how can you really find who you truly are and connect that to the needs or the values of the job that you're seeking, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you won't be able to, and so it's not the right job,
Yeah.
right? She mentioned something briefly, but do you believe it's a friendly world, or do you believe it's an unfriendly world? And this is important, because if we kind of live in a more paranoid mindset, and I have empathy for anybody who does think that way, because maybe you've had really hard stuff happen to you. And we're not just being airy-fairy California hippies. We
just
recognize,
be positive.
Yeah, right. Life is hard sometimes.
Absolutely.
But when we are in alignment, when we really are committed in whatever your own unique spiritual path might be, whenever you are really feeling committed to, okay, I'm gonna attract the perfect job for myself, and I'm gonna adapt. I'm gonna be curious. I'm gonna see what comes in front of me. I'm not just gonna pretend that somebody's gonna offer me $1 million to do whatever I want to do, but really getting in touch with what are my true skills, what are my true self talents, where am I gifted, and where am I willing to learn and grow and develop. And how can I apply that to the job opportunities that are available?
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's great.
And how can Love Coach Academy help? Well, we help by teaching emotional intelligence skill building. Emotional intelligence, also known as EQ, is becoming very popular in the corporate and business world, because smart business leaders have learned that if their employees are emotionally intelligent, everything goes much more smoothly. So what is emotional intelligence? 5 primary skills. 1, the ability to self-reflect, to really be honest about myself, not just blame and shame, but okay, what's my part in this? What can I do better? Self-reflection.
Also, too, like, what are my skill sets? What are the areas that I'm here to develop within this company? That's all we call it self-inquiry, self-reflection. The more that we're able to do that work, then we're able to take responsibility, which is the second one, is to what degree do we have a value of taking responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, needs, actions, choices, and behaviors? And to what degree are we working within an environment where that's actually a value as well? And how can the company, uplift that value?
Beautiful. So that's quality number 1.
And that's number 2, is taking responsibility.
Oh, taking responsibility. Sorry. Okay. So you did number 2. And we're going to just briefly mention them. If you want to really learn how to do these skills, join our online membership portal,
which we'll talk about.
Which we'll talk about that in a moment. So number 3 is mutuality, playing fair, meaning genuinely caring equally about the other as well as yourself. Number 4 is empathy, the ability to really drop in and genuinely care about your clients, your coworkers, your boss, genuine care for others.
And again, the key is showing empathy and care and understanding people doesn't mean that you have to agree with their perspective, their belief system, their reality. And that's a huge piece of why people shut off their heart. And so to the degree that we can step into other people's world to validate them is the way that we come into a shared space of becoming more effective together, and getting more of our needs met.
And then finally, taking responsibility for the consequences of our choices, right? Really recognize, okay, when I made this choice, this is how it impacted others. Okay.
And I want to take responsibility for that. I want to be in ownership so that, again, I can come forward and if it's genuine, make amends or shift that behavior or tell them like, I want to be more aware of that, or I want to recommit to this, so that we can come into a space of creating more of that kind of shared trust, creating trust.
So we're almost out of time, but we do want to invite you to, if you like what you're seeing here, Emily and I are the co-founders of Love Coach Academy, but there are actually several other love coaches that we work with that we've trained and that are awesome. And you can learn more about what we're doing by going to lovecoachacademy.com. And there's several different options there. And we invite you to click where it says, join our online community. And we have this amazing community of people from all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Europe, of course, the United States. And by joining our online community, you have access to a portal. And that portal includes an amazing library that we've spent 3 years building, 50 videos, 20 audio podcasts, 20 webinars, all on a variety of topics, all about emotional intelligence, better relationships, personal relationships, how to manage triggers, how to manage difficult situations. And there's also more. By joining our portal, we have weekly online practice groups. We have weekly coaching calls. For example, tonight, Emily is leading a class on how to manage triggers and how to self-source. And that's tonight at 6:30 California time. She'll be leading a 90-minute class. So there's online, and people come online, they ask questions, they participate, we see each other. So it's an amazing way to really connect with us. So go to lovecoachacademy.com and join our online portal. And it's very inexpensive, by the way, remarkably inexpensive. But not for long, because we're going to raise our prices. And last thing you'd like to say?
Just really excited, just holding like a lot of enthusiasm that you're going to find a job position that really lights you up or that helps you to develop yourself and contribute in wonderful ways, and just offering that celebration and holding that vision for you.
The last thing I'd like to say is whatever your spiritual beliefs are, bring it into your job search. Whether you pray or meditate or you just like to be in nature, but create time to get centered. And if you believe in a higher power, connect to higher power, whatever higher power might mean to you, God or any particular religious or spiritual belief, and cultivate that. Cultivating love. Love is an action. Love is how we treat ourselves and how we treat each other. And the very last thing I'll say is learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And that's not selfishness, but just really learning to love yourself, nurture yourself, honor yourself, take good care of yourself, and remember how magnificent you truly are.
Yay.
Okay.
I also do want to say that we do travel. We sometimes travel to Europe. Last year, we traveled to New Zealand, Australia, doing a couple private kind of retreats, events. So we are available to do travel. We do a lot of work online as well. So it's the ability to be able to come in and do deep work from online, but we do also open the possibility of doing travel.
And we would love to come to Sweden. So
Yes.
hopefully we will do that. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Hope this has been helpful. So I guess.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, really good job. End meeting.